I loved. I comforted. I let someone leave this world feeling
My name
held.
is Brielle.
If
I'm
that makes me the
29, and
villain
my
in their
perfect
eyes,
life
so be
collapsed
it,
under the
because I
weight
do
of
it
something
all
that
over
wasn't
again.
even my fault. Now, everyone treats me like I'm the villain of this story. I was engaged to Nolan. We'd been together for almost 3 years, engaged for 8 months, and planning a wedding for the following spring. We shared a cozy apartment, a shared life, a future, or so I thought. I worked part-time while Nolan, with his solid finance job, covered most of our bills. People always said we were the dream couple, Instagram perfect, polished, secure. But relationships are messy, real ones at least. Nolan got weird anytime I brought up my ex, Leo. I dated Leo for 6 years. He was a massive part of my past, so it wasn't like I could erase him. But whenever I mentioned a memory or story involving Leo, Nolan would tense up like I'd committed some betrayal. Nolan had control issues too. He'd constantly ask where I'd been, who I'd spoken to, even scroll through my Instagram likes. And yet, I respected his space. Sure, I glanced at his phone sometimes when he left it out, but that's just what people do, right? He also didn't like my friends, said they were immature, toxic, dramatic. Meanwhile, his friends were aimless, drunk half the time, and couldn't hold down a relationship if their lives depended on it. But I bit my tongue. Money became a pressure point. Nolan started hinting that maybe I should go full-time to help with the wedding. But I was already handling the planning, errands, appointments, basically doing the work of an unpaid coordinator. Whenever he brought it up, I shut down. It felt more like pressure than partnership. And sure, I noticed when Nolan didn't say thank you after I made his favorite meal or reorganized his entire closet. I wasn't petty, I just wanted to feel seen, appreciated. And when we fought, I'd bring those things up, my way of saying, look how hard I'm trying. Then there were his coworkers, especially the women. Some were a little too friendly. When I raised concerns, Nolan would roll his eyes, accuse me of being paranoid. But I knew the signs. Women know. Still, we kept moving forward. Until that night in March when everything shifted. My phone rang during dinner. I saw the name and my heart sank. Leo's sister. I hadn't spoken to her in ages. When I answered, her voice cracked. Leo's gone. Cancer. My whole body went still. Leo was 31. I knew he'd been sick, but I thought it was just burnout or stress. We'd texted here and there, nothing intense. He never said it was cancer. When I told Nolan, he was more suspicious than supportive. Why didn't you tell me you'd been in contact with him? He asked. Not, are you okay? I was gutted. I went to the funeral. It broke me. Leo's family embraced me. His mom cried in my arms. His sister said, he always loved you. Always. Friends came up, told stories, reminded me of the life we'd once planned. Nolan texted during the wake, asking when I'd be home. I ignored it. A week before Leo died, he texted me. Said he was scared, alone, that he just wanted someone who truly knew him near. He asked me to visit. What was I supposed to say? Sorry, my fiancé wouldn't approve? I told Nolan I was meeting my sister. Then I went to Leo's apartment. He looked frail. Not the Leo I remembered. We talked for hours about everything, his regrets, fears, the life he was losing, and finally, he asked if I'd stay, just to not be alone. That night, Leo asked for one last thing. Not sex, not romance, just closeness. One moment of connection before the end. I stayed. Yes, we were intimate, but it wasn't betrayal. It wasn't lust. It was mercy, love, compassion for someone who had no one else, who just wanted not to die feeling unloved. I held him through the night, and in the morning, he thanked me, over and over, said it gave him peace. Then I went home, to Nolan. I didn't tell him, not because I was hiding a betrayal, but because I knew he wouldn't understand. He saw life in black and white, no nuance, no grace for complicated moments. Weeks passed. Nolan grew suspicious. My grief made him uncomfortable. He'd ask about my mood, then ask if I was faking. When I'd break down, he'd act like it was a performance. Then came the explosion. 3 weeks after the funeral, Nolan confronted me. Did you sleep with him? I was done lying, done carrying the guilt. I told him everything. His face didn't change. He just shut down. Asked questions like a prosecutor, dates, times, words I used. Then came the list of inconsistencies, the timeline, the lies by omission. He said I betrayed him, that grief wasn't an excuse, that I'd cheated. I tried to explain that compassion isn't betrayal, that Leo was dying, that it wasn't about Nolan. But Nolan didn't care. He wanted absolutes, control, clean edges. I gave him none. He left. 2 weeks later, he was already back on dating apps. A month after that, he was seeing someone from work, a bubbly blonde who posted inspirational quotes and smoothie bowls. Meanwhile, I fell apart. Then, 6 months later, Leo's sister ran into me, said they found journals, that Leo had written about me, about how he felt guilty for asking me to visit, how he worried he'd manipulated me. And suddenly, the narrative flipped. Rumors spread. People said I took advantage of him, that I used his sickness to justify cheating. And Nolan? He got engaged to Smoothie Bowl Girl. Same venue we'd booked, same timeline, like I never existed. But here's what no one understands. I was there, in that room, holding the hand of a man who was dying. I saw the fear.
I comforted. I let someone leave this world feeling held.
If that makes me the villain in their eyes, so be it, because I'd do it all over again.